Welcome to the Recycle Podcast, where we discuss everyday issues from a mental health perspective. We are your hosts, Dr. Rashonda Strickland,
Dr. LaFanya Jones-Hines,
and Dr. Nichelle Wall. Now, don't get it twisted. We're not going to be your stereotypical therapist.
What we will be is informative, down to earth, a little spicy, and vulnerable.
All right, interns, turn up your volume, grab your pen and paper. It's supervision time. As a reminder, this podcast is not meant to take the place of a relationship with a licensed mental health professional.
Welcome back to session 56, Assigned Seats.
Okay, interns. This week's session is going to be all about unequal situations. So those situations can be unequal finances, education, and emotional intelligence,
Erotic intelligence.
So we're going to talk. So we won't say all of them because we may not get to all of them, but it's just going to be about unequal situations.
Mm-hmm.
So which one y'all want to start with?
You know which one you want to start with. Stop playing.
But y'all may not want to start there.
Don't just jump in.
Well, let's do it then. So I want to start off with unequal financial situations. And what I mean by that is when she makes more than him.
Mm-hmm. I think that if we're talking for the stereotypical kind of alpha male, or even, I think the only person that would not have, that would be okay with this would be like the beta male. If you're going to go with that kind of, male archetype theory.
We promise we're going to do that for a session. We just ain't got to it, y'all.
Mm-hmm. So the alpha male is definitely not going to be okay with that.
Yes. And why not?
Well, it goes against their whole mentality of being, the leader, being the strong type, being the provider, being the one that's always in control. So for that particular archetype, if you have a partner that makes more than you, then it's going to become emasculating if you fall in that category. But
well, I think from what you're saying, society has made men think that in order for them to be a quote unquote man, they have to be the provider. They have to be the one making more money. They have to be the one bringing home the bacon so that the woman can fry it in the pan,
Yeah.
And so and the thing about it is a lot of times alpha men they say they want alpha women. But then they can't handle it when she make $1,000 more than him.
Mm-hmm. It could be a penny.
I
have had a couple arguing over a penny. And I'm just like, y'all, it's literally going in the same house. And for them, it was going in the same bank account.
Mm-hmm. But again, I think that supports what you were just saying about American society. Because we're specifically talking about American society. Other areas and cultures have different norms and expectations, but we have drilled it into the heads of men and women that there's a certain hierarchy when it comes to the family.
Yeah.
And, as much as we want to say we're a progressive nation, we are still pretty archaic and, the nuclear family still, that leave it to beaver idea is still very prevalent in American culture. I think there have been some shifts and changes, of course, but when people, as we've seen with our couples, like when people get married and they get in these relationships, all of a sudden these individuals that was like so gung-ho on, we're going to share all these duties and we're going to share all of this stuff, somehow very easily slip into these traditional gender roles.
Very much so.
Yeah.
Very much so. I have a couple right now who one of their arguments is that the wife wants him to be more present with the family and more present with her and show up and interact and things like that. And I said, it's because you only requested a provider. And a husband is more than just a provider. That's just one element of him.
Yeah, no, I was getting ready to add on to that, saying that like when you have that type of dynamic and then you have the woman to decide that she's going to go back and get education or even go back into the field, and you have this woman now bringing in money, it then breaks his and if she's making more money, it then begins to damage or I'll say damage
hurt
his self-esteem.
I think that happens. So I have two thoughts. One of them is if she was already at the start of the relationship making more than him, I think there's a certain kind of dynamic that can get set up there.
But see, I'm sorry. I'm gonna add to that because see, with those type of women, it's hard. From what statistics say, it's hard for them to find someone.
We would know.
I know.
Yeah. I'm just thinking it sets up a different type of power dynamic in the relationship if she was already established and making more money.
Whether it grew.
Versus, we were on par with one another and then she started to make more money. You know,
That's true.
It seems like there may be a different type of, and this is also going to be based off personality as well, but a different type of emasculation that can come with if she was already making more versus if she started making more.
Yeah, I agree with that.
I do, but emasculation or not emasculation, expectation is expectation. Like, I just feel like she may the one who was already making money, she may not give him that opportunity to think that, sir, no, I was already making money. Whatever. I don't care what you're saying. So she is, an alpha too. So that's why I say when men say that that's what they want, they not ready. We saw that in Boomerang.
Well, and I think I think also it goes back to what we've talked about in past sessions is that people don't really consider what their ask is. Like if I say, as a man, if I were to say that I want a woman who has her own money, brings, money to the table, and I want her to do this, I want her to be able to do this, maybe I want her to, have sex with me 5 to 6, 7 times a week. I want her also to be cooking, like all of that stuff. And then it becomes, well, when's she gonna do all that? How's she gonna work her job, come home, cook, sex you on demand, take care of the kids? Like, it becomes this thing of, okay, acknowledge what the things are that you want, but make sure that you're being realistic in how you construct them for the person that you're desiring. And then also, what are you contributing? Because if all you're contributing is a paycheck, you're not doing really nothing. She can go get a sugar daddy.
Or sugar baby.
Because we at the cougar level at this. I'm a panther.
Yeah. I agree. I can understand where you're coming from with that.
Yeah. And I think that causes a lot of problems too, because now, like you said, she's working and still expected to do all of these things where he's only expected to just go to work. And I think society now is slowly, when I say like turtle slowly, trying to transition into understanding that there are a much higher percentage of women going back to get their education and marrying men who have less education, but then they're seen as marrying down.
Well, I mean, we are in the top percentages of people who are getting educated. I think people have to remember that there are more women than men, number one, because we're not going to go into the biology of that. We're not going to do all that today. I almost had a Psych 101. We're not doing that. But, there are just certain things that people need to be a little bit more aware of. I think people just say, I want this, and they don't realize, okay, you say you want this, but that doesn't really work for the time period that we're in. Like, you can't be talking about you want this Victorian ideal and we live in 21. that don't go together. If you want to role play, we can do that, but that's not what we're talking about.
True. Yeah. And I think also there's a different type of mindset that comes with, and that's why I say I think there's a difference between the woman that was already making more and the one that starts to make more, because there's just a different type of mindset. Now, again, the likelihood that the woman that was already making more is going to be a woman with children, and stuff like that is going to be less because she's been career driven. So she's not going, she's going to be in a much more demanding type of place. Of course, there are outliers and we all know that, but in a, general sense, she's going to be somebody that's very focused, probably pretty regimented, and structured, versus the woman that started off at the same level with her partner. There's a different dynamic set up between them, and then she became what she became. I think then there can be a level of resentment that starts with the woman that became that started
that's what you were talking about. Okay.
And then that man has to
like
they have to prove themselves,
right? Like they're just not starting at the same place, because the mindsets of those women are two different women. The always career driven, career minded woman is not the same as the one that became career driven and career minded.
Because then that becomes you changed on me,
right?
Or you're not doing what you need to be doing because you're doing this. But in reality, you can do all of that stuff. Like I was saying with the other example I use, you can do all of that stuff, but you have to construct it in a way that is healthy. You can't just be talking out the side of your neck.
Yeah. Okay. Now I see what you're saying. Yeah, I gotcha.
Yeah. So, I think then that's why I say it sets up a different type of emasculation for each, or potentially can set up a different type of emasculation for each of those partners. It's likely going to be less so for the woman that was already making more. Because she went into this situation knowing that she was making more than her partner. Versus the woman that started making more, and now I have resentment and frustration if my partner doesn't come along with me.
But the woman that goes into the relationship that was making money already, that couple then has another set of eyes and morals and values of other people that they have to, they don't have to answer to, but typically we do answer to, because then you have parents who are like, well, he don't make a lot of money. I know that, but that's not what this relationship is all about. So you have to get past that, and then he has to get past that as well, because obviously he's going to hear that, and what is that going to do to him?
Yeah. And of course, the flip side of that is the traditional way, which, the man making more and the woman making less. And, that's something that we've actually, talked about on the show. So we don't want anybody to feel like we're being one-sided, because we're not.
But that's the norm.
But we've discussed it. So it's not like something that we are excluding from this conversation. But what do you think are some of the reasons why men particularly get so hung up on that financial part? Like, what about it is challenging them?
So I would say it's challenging for men that are not secure with themselves already. I think that a man that is secure in who he is as an individual is not going to necessarily be really faced by that. And I think it will depend on the type of partner that he has. Do they have good communications, skills, problem solving? Do they work jointly with one another? Or do they have, since we're talking about imbalance, do they have an imbalance in the way they distribute things between the two of them? So I think the more one-sided it becomes, the more he will focus on that unevenness. And then if she starts to become controlling, like, you can't do this, or all the money needs to be mine now so that I can control it, and then I give you a stipend or of what, things like that. So I think the more behavioral stuff can make it become a focus.
Like how perfect Patty became.
Yes.
MMB.
So I think that the problem can start where when they're trying to live up to the expectations of other people, like society, and not realizing that no one, and I think if they compare themselves to men who really don't work, they really are a gold digger and things like that, we're not talking about those type of men. We're talking about men who may be, I don't know, a carpenter or I don't know, construction work or something like that, and their wife is a 6-figure, 7-figure woman. And so when they begin to compare themselves to either that type of gold digging man or what society says they should be doing, it can begin to be play gymnastics on their psyche, and especially if they listening to people like the high powered man and all of that crap, that can begin to play a part of their who they think they should be. Yeah. And then like you were saying too, it depends on the partner, the woman, if she's throwing it up in his face like, well, I make more money than I should be able to go shopping whenever I want to. No, this is your partner. It doesn't matter how much money you or him are bringing in. Y'all do this together. It's when you get married, it's a team effort. It's a partnership. Yeah. It's not just it's not me against you. It's not. It's us against the world.
Yeah. So I have a question for y'all. It's a 2-piece question.
Twofer.
So the first part is, do you think that there's a difference if she makes more for blue collar versus white collar workers? That's the first part. The second part is, do you think that it matters more if both people make money and she just happens to make more? So let's say, just for number's sake, let's say she makes $300,000 a year and he makes $250,000. You know what I'm saying? So she technically makes more, but based off where they are at their income level, does that distribution have any effect, on them versus I make 100,000 and you make 30?
I would say that number one, it depends on the couple, of course, because there are dynamics and, different things that go on in a relationship. But I would say, based off of my experience as well as what I've seen in therapy, typically when it is two people in their career fields with similar earnings, it's not as big of a problem. You could just kind of see it more so as the one making the lesser is kind of like puffing up their chest a little bit here and there or something like that. What I've seen when it's that the bigger gap and the person is making a substantial amount of money and blue or white collar, that's when I see a lot of problems and a lot of you don't know your place, or I see a lot of that rah energy, or you're trying to do this to me, and it's just kind of like nobody's doing anything to you. I'm bringing money in so we can have a good life. That's it.
Okay, so for you see it's proportion. Okay.
I think I would agree with you on that, actually. And I'm wondering if it's because, and I'm just guesstimating, I wonder if it's because for a lot of people in the blue and white collar, is that really what they want to be doing or is that what they're being forced to do because they didn't have the means to go to college, or or didn't want to go to college, wasn't good in school,
purpose,
or they're not really in their purpose. So if it's just, that's just the, I guess, kind of covering what's really going on. And so now I'm fighting about the money because I'm really not dealing with the real issue of what's going on.
And I think also people who are making the upper are like, this is mine. It is what it is. Like, you doing what you doing. It is, you know what I mean? They still want somebody who's on their level, whatever that means to them, but not necessarily we out here going line by line trying to figure out stuff. Like I think once you get to a certain, we'll say, tax bracket, people start to think about money differently. Yes. As far as like, this is an investment, this is that. Tax write-offs, things just kind of flow differently in your mind.
I see where you're going.
It becomes more about being wealthy versus being rich. And so of course when you are on the other end of that and you really have poverty mentality, everything about money matters. So I can
you paid $20 to put some gas in the car, you coming home.
It was $42.15. It was $42.15, sir.
Shoot.
Yeah, that those type
Or
of arguments, right? That money matters. Yeah.
Like, Jesus Christ, $50.
Yeah. So, question then:
Mm-hmm.
how do you avoid the power struggle?
As with everything, communication.
Yes.
Yes.
I mean, I think everything, we should literally just call our podcast communication, because I think a lot of stuff really does boil down to that, and checking your ego
At the door.
Mm-hmm. Both of you.
Now, do
Yes.
you? I was just gonna say. Now, do you think women should help men do that because not feel emasculated?
I think you should show up authentically and kindly to the person you chose to be in a relationship with. Because I know a lot of women making a lot of money and holding it over their men's head. And I'm like, so why you want him then?
Mm-hmm.
Give him to somebody else.
Yeah.
I'll take him. Not really. I don't really want him. I don't really want him. But it's just kind of like, yeah, there is an imbalance going on in the financial area, but at the same time, sometimes it's the woman making it the imbalance. The man was totally cool, like he didn't have no problem. He's like, hey, you rolling, I ain't rolling. It is what it is. But the woman's like, well, this is my stuff, and I have this, and I have that, and you need to, and it just becomes this very like, I've put myself on a pedestal, and you're a peasant.
So this is Miles and Terry from Soul Food.
Mm-hmm.
Even though he was making decent money, he was making, well, not decent, he was making good money.
Well, you could go to the other one, the Showtime one.
Oh,
When Terry got with Boris. I mean, I'm saying they real and they fake name. When Nicole and Boris was each other's significant other on the show.
yeah.
But I can't remember what Boris's like name
Character
was.
name
Yeah,
was, I
I
can't
can't
either.
remember.
But they were definitely that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, but just kind of her attitude and her stance on money. Now that came from a very traumatic place.
Yes.
And I think that's kind of where we talk about communication and checking your ego at the door. So like, what are your ideas about money and where did that come from? Again, that goes back to that survival poverty mentality. And are you carrying that up with you as you have climbed the financial ladder? Because you can be a multimillionaire and still think like you, only making
$20,000.
Right.
Nothing wrong with that.
Again, this is and this is nothing, because there's people really out here struggling. But if you get to that financial level and you carry that same survival mindset, then you're gonna be on edge. You're gonna be a hoarder. There's gonna be a
Very frugal.
very frugal.
Or the opposite end. Because look at the athletes
That
and
too.
the celebrities, rappers and things like that. Soon as they stop, they have nothing.
Yeah, that's
you
true.
know? And if you are not charismatic or people like what you did while you were in the leagues or whatever, you're not getting an anchor spot. It's some people like Charles Barkley. I'm trying to figure out why he has an anchor spot, because I don't know what the man be saying.
He was not well liked because of his attitude when he was playing.
And he speak like he got marbles in his mouth. At least with Shaq, people like him because he be saying stupid stuff. But
Shaqed and a Fool is my favorite segment. I love watching that.
But I think Shaq I know we getting way off topic, but I think he was preparing himself to retire before he retired, because he set himself up in movies. He was in commercials.
that is true.
He set himself
He rapped
up
for 5 seconds.
Oh Lord.
But just to kind of bring that back, I do think that, again, it goes back to a mindset though, and as you and your partner, if one person starts to outpace the other, and this would be regardless if the man starts to outpace the woman or the woman starts to outpace the man, or whomever partner, based off your lifestyle, whomever starts to outpace the other person, I think you have to talk about how your mindset is either staying the same or your mindset is starting to change about your finances, so that you guys can grow together versus one person staying in the what you were and is not able to come up to what you are.
Yeah.
And I think you have to understand each other's mentality when it comes to money, because men typically have a different mindset about money. And when you have this conversation, it needs to be a gentle conversation, not that you have to scapegoat around it or walk on eggshells. But finances is a tough topic anyway for couples.
It's one of the big five.
It is
for divorce.
You're right.
And then at the end of the day, like, y'all have to structure y'all's finances for what works for y'all, not what works for one of you. And so, you know, I always like, one of the couples that I just adore with their blueprint of their relationship is my sister. Shout out to Shalon. You know, I love the way that they have structured their financial life, and, you know, this is how we do this. This is how we're going to pay things off. This is how we're going to do this. It's your turn to get a big ticket item. It's my turn to get a big ticket item. We get a stipend. Like, they both out here making money. You know what I mean? Both of them. So they both came from a place, though, came from families that didn't have money. You know what I'm saying? So a lot of things they probably had to learn on their own. They had to figure some things out that did work for other people, but didn't work for them. And so, you know, I know in the beginning years, because they've shared their story with me, it wasn't easy, and they probably had some fights and things like that. But eventually you get it together. It don't have to be perfect, but you got to keep working at it to see, you know, where that structure lies. You know, she's in the med field, he's in education. So, you know, there probably was some imbalance at one point until, you know, they go up into the, you know, the upper levels of different things. So I just think people, like Dr. Strickland has been saying, people need to communicate more so that they can get what they want, instead of it being so, I'm not getting my needs met, so then I go and do something I ain't supposed to do.
And I think we have to talk about and get rid of that mentality of the traditional way of men making more, women staying home, making, you know, the bacon and taking care of the kids in the house and things like that. Because now at this point in time, I think a lot more women are making the decision to not be stay-at-home moms or wives anymore, because
we'll have kids.
Right. That's yes. And I think you have to understand. I think we as a society have to be okay with that, because I think when women were doing that, one, the timing was, I mean, that was what it was. Yeah. But then I also think that it's prevented women from walking into their purpose, which is why we had a lot of women back in the day that was depressed.
Yeah. And I think also, you know, people got to remember, we out here struggling. Everybody need to work.
Especially in Texas.
I need 2 people in my house working.
Because we need 2 cars. Everything in Texas is far apart.
Yes.
Like, you try to take some public transit and you get there tomorrow.
Okay.
Like, we not fit to do that.
Yeah, we are not built for that.
But, you know, I think people kind of forget that. Now, of course, if y'all making enough for, you know, one person to stay at home, whoever it is, because you got to do what's best for your family, then that's a blessing. And that's not what everybody gets to do. But at the end of the day, y'all at some point sat down and discussed it. And you're like, hey, we crunched these numbers. This is what works.
Yeah, I think that ties, all of what we're saying, it ties into the emotional intelligence piece. You know, do you guys have the emotional bandwidth to have these types of conversations? Girl. Do you have the language to have these kinds of conversations? The patience, the drive? You know, do you have all of that necessary on at least a somewhat equal level? And, you know, guys, I'm not a fan of things believing that there's 50-50 and, you know, 100 and zeros. But do you at least have somewhat similar amounts of energy, desire, ability, understanding, you know, to have these conversations when you have situations where there is, you know, an unequal amount of something in the relationship? Again,
like we've said before in previous sessions, figure out what's comfortable for you. If y'all are having this conversation and something still feels like it's off, it's not being addressed, then seek mental health. This is the type of stuff that you can come to a counselor for.
Yeah.
You really can. It's not, people tend to think that therapy is just for when you, well, not just for, because we don't believe that people are crazy, but but for people who are crazy. But no, we are actually out here to help people with everyday situations.
Yeah. You know, and the thing is sometimes, you know, when you are like that, you're going to have to vent. You're going to have to talk to somebody. You're going to have to do something. So with that being said, you may need to like have a podcast and talk and have ads and things of that nature. So we're going to take a quick break, but we'll be right back.
Hey, y'all.
Hey, girl. What you been up to?
Nothing much, just working. Trying some new things. You know I like to make them corns, honey.
Okay, ma'am. What are these new things?
Well, I am thinking about starting a podcast.
Seriously?
Yes.
Ooh. You know we have one, right?
I thought y'all did. Okay, so good. I'm talking to the right people. I've been doing some research and I've been trying to figure out a hosting site.
Okay.
Okay. You can use the one we use. We use Anchor.
Hold on, though. Hold on. You know, y'all balling.
Here she goes.
Y'all balling, so y'all can afford to do that. Is it free?
Yeah, girl, it's free. You know we're not out here trying to spend all that money. We keep our coins in the bank. Plus, it has a lot of great tools that help you to sound very professional.
Come on, be professional. Okay. So it got good tools and it's free. So where can I put it?
So you can find it pretty much everywhere. Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google Podcasts. I mean, pretty much anywhere that you listen to podcasts.
Yeah.
Okay. Because y'all know I'm an Apple girl.
Yes, whatever. We do. But get this.
Okay.
You can also make some money with it too. And you don't even have to have a whole bunch of listeners either.
Wait a minute. Seriously?
Yeah, sponsorships.
Yep.
Oh, okay.
So basically this thing is just like a big old one-stop shop.
Okay. So then I really just need to go ahead and download this free Anchor app.
Yeah, or you can just go to anchor.fm if you want to do it on your little laptop and you can just immediately get started.
Okay. Well, you know what? I knew I came to the right place. I knew it. Boss ladies.
We got your
Thank
back.
you,
We
lady.
got your back.
You welcome. So anyway, what you got going on this weekend?
Girl, I'm shopping. I be liking to make coins, but I like to spend them too.
Yes.
No, ma'am. No, ma'am. I'm just going to take a nap.
That sounds like you.
Well, I do be sleepy. Y'all don't like bed? Welcome back, interns. Now, ladies, I got a question for y'all. So I know we're just getting into the emotional intelligence. When y'all think about the ways that is unequal, what pops up in y'all's head in relationships? It can be from personal experience or from the therapeutic.
Gotcha. Okay.
I gotta think.
Unequal emotional intelligence.
Okay. I think one, maybe processing speed.
Okay. Yes.
And I've seen that.
Yes. So many couples.
Yes, I was just going to say, I've seen several couples who their argument is really not an argument. It's the processing speed that's causing the argument.
Yes.
Yeah.
I would say tit for tat. I see a lot of that, one-upsmanship. Like my pain is worse than your pain kind of thing.
The struggle Olympics.
Yes. And let me say another way I see it show up is reaction versus respond.
Yeah, that's a good one.
Yes.
And I don't know if that's like, I feel like that's an umbrella under processing speed, but
I can see that.
Yeah, I agree with all of those. I think another one that I have seen a lot, especially the last couple of weeks for whatever reason, is people that think their feelings. And they don't know the difference between what their thoughts are and what their feelings are, and it messes them up completely. And then another thing is people who try to tell their partner how they think and feel. Instead of you worry about yourself.
Listening.
Worry about yourself so that you can express.
Worry about yourself.
You, and then your partner can express back to you.
So in that situation, who do you think is the emotionally unintelligent one?
The one who's projecting. That's what I would say. Now, of course, the other one could also be doing some emotionally immature things. But because of just that part, yeah, it's the person that is doing that. Because if Dr. Strickland come and tell me that I've done something to wrong her, and then I say, well, you couldn't have been thinking like that because blah 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 blah, and it's like
but I cannot
so you just
it.
not gonna listen to what I'm saying,
right?
The gaslighting.
I cannot stand when people tell me how I'm feeling.
That's like, stop being so upset about. Why are you being so mad? Why are you so angry?
Why you not?
I think my blood pressure just went up.
It's like, first of all, stop throwing me back in the tripping one. Like how I slid that plug in there.
Yeah.
And saying that I'm angry.
Yeah. I can't stand it.
Mm-hmm. And I think is one of the biggest things when it comes to emotional intelligence for me is not having emotional words.
Did we tell them what emotional intelligence is?
Oh,
we have in the past probably, but let's have a psych 101.
Bling, 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 bling. So of course this term was developed by actually somebody that was not in the psych field, weirdly enough, but it basically describes your ability to understand emotions, communicate them, and experience them. Mm-hmm. That you have an awareness for feelings, the interactions that happen between how you feel, how you think, what you do, all that good stuff.
Your capability to emote.
Yes.
Yeah. There's actually a book called Emotional Intelligence. I think that pretty much all of us read in school at some point. And that's why I say it's interesting because this concept was not developed by somebody in the field, but
we all have the book.
Yeah. But we do. Because it makes sense.
Yeah.
You know, the idea of it makes sense.
Yeah.
So, yep.
So I'm sorry. I think I interrupted the last part of what you were saying before. You remember?
Mm-mm.
Okay.
It's okay.
You'll have to rewind.
It's okay.
Okay.
Yeah, so I definitely think emotional intelligence is one of the reasons why people don't stay together. You know, they break apart. You know, they don't feel heard. They don't feel understood. And mind you, what I'm saying is part of thinking your feelings. Because technically you don't feel and think at the same level. You know, things, the way you think are concepts, constructs of your environment and things that you have been taught. And then how you feel is innately related to your inner being. Like,
it's your lizard brain.
Yes. You know, and so that's a very reactionary piece of yourself, which is why you need the logical side. You know, both sides work together to get the behaviors out in a healthy manner. But most people, it ain't together like that.
I remembered what I was getting ready to say.
Oh, go
ahead. That a lot of people don't have feeling words.
Yes.
You know.
That's why I give my feelings word sheet in the second session. Because I need you to enhance that.
Yeah. And I don't know if it's just human nature. I don't know if it's just American culture that we say, I feel a lot.
And say
I feel like you trying to talk to me crazy.
Yeah.
You thought that, fool.
Yeah. Like we say I feel and then a bunch of actions and thoughts come behind that.
Yeah.
So then we begin to attribute that to feeling, but people just don't have the words to say I feel neglected, I feel disappointed, I feel dismissed, I feel lonely, you know, so they don't have that language. So then, and we've talked about this in previous sessions before, that when those feelings go unmet and unaddressed, they slowly, you know, morph into other feelings like anger. And then of course, as anger continues to sit there and it goes unaddressed, then you get your tertiary feelings, like, you know, like contempt and hatred,
enraged, pissed off.
Yep. All those, you know, higher level.
And in those higher levels is when behavior comes out, where you start cussing people out, busting windows out of the cars and flattening tires and scratching and writing on cars and stuff.
When you could just walk away and find somebody better suited for you.
Yep.
Of course.
So I have a question. Now, we've been talking about the couples who both people work and both people bringing money in. But what if she's making more money and he's not working and not even trying to work? How does that dynamic work?
And he's purposefully not working and she wants him to, not he's purposefully not working and that's what they've chosen.
I have a song.
Okay.
I think you better leave. Leave me alone. Alone. Get your bags and get the hell on. That's
gone.
what I think. Because I ain't gonna be able to do it. Now it's a different, like I said before, it's a difference if we're doing a traditional situation where maybe I'm working and my husband is staying home because that is financially better for our family. Because sometimes that's what happens. Yeah. That's different. But when you think that I'm about to be your mama, I done said this to Dr. Strickland about 3 times in the last 2 weeks. Mamas don't want to have sex with their sons.
Nope.
We don't want to do it.
I say that to my clients all the time.
It's incestuous. Okay. So if I'm taking care of you in an agreement that we did not agree to, it's going to be a problem. Yeah. And vice versa. Man, woman, I don't care who you are.
Yeah. That's just relationship. And
Period.
I agree.
Yeah.
If we did not agree that you were going to be a stay-at-home, yeah.
And then we got to define that stay-at-home. Like, because if you just laying on the couch playing video games,
right,
we're not going to do that either.
Yeah, because stay-at-home could mean that you are for all intents and purposes, the house manager. You know, you address the finances and the grocery and the cleaning and coordinating and planning and organizing and all that kind of stuff, because those are jobs in themselves.
Yes, you are the person who takes care of everything related to home. And by take care means plan it. It don't mean that you're actually having to do everything. And then the other person is the financial investor into the home. But that don't mean that that's all they do.
Right.
So, people have to really sit down and discuss those things, because I don't think people do.
And make sure you define it clearly. Like, if someone is going to stay at home and manage the home, that's fine. But then all of those roles, whether it's traditional or non-traditional, they need to be discussed specifically. And then if you're a person that's staying at home and that's not been discussed, then you might need to check with your partner, because I can probably guarantee you that there's a problem.
Yeah. Since we are kind of segueing into that, how do y'all feel and think about...
She called it.
And I didn't mean feel, but I was like, I want to get the thoughts. That's more important than the feelings. What do y'all think about the unequal workload of home chores between men and, well, it don't matter for man and woman, between partners. Yeah.
Well, what I think is a lot of people, I think we need to be provided just across the board. I don't care what house you live in the United States. We all need to have housekeepers, because it's just too much. I don't care what your income level is. Like, that just needs to be a service that is provided.
When you get a house, when you sign your mortgage, you get it with a housekeeper.
They got the maintenance people got a housekeeping section. It's just like the dorm. Like, they come in, because I think people are just working so much. Now, if you have, again, we've gone through the stay-at-home piece. So if you have that already solidified for your household, that's a completely different story. But if you, and this is whether you are a lower SES or a higher SES, if you are working all the time, you got 2, 3, 4 jobs trying to make ends meet, you do not have the time to dedicate to dishes and laundry and all that kind of stuff.
Nor the energy, as well as if you are on the higher SES end,
you may look more presentable and look more put together on the outside, but you are extending just as much energy and work as a person that has several jobs. You're just doing it in a different type of way. So your ability to be productive in the home is also going to be affected as well.
I think you need a chef too. Because who don't have time to cook is me.
Busy people.
Agreed.
Yeah. I'm in the same thought process. I think what I end up seeing happen goes back to that provider component in a lot of families, is that because I brought the majority of the money in, or more than half of the money and I shouldn't have to do any chores. And I'm like, you live here too, sir. You live here too, ma'am.
Mm-hmm.
Like, we're not doing that because, like you've said before, Dr. Strickland, you know, a lot of times people will ask their significant other for help.
Mm-hmm.
And there is no help when you benefit from this as well.
Yeah.
Now, you helped me if you helped me detangle these curls on my head. Because you don't benefit from these curls. I do. But if we talking about washing dishes, if we talking about, you know, washing the cars, if we're talking about, you know, whatever the home benefits from, those are things that we need to figure out how to break down. Now, if, like I've said before, if you like me and you need the towels folded in a certain type of way, trifold, then I'm going to go ahead and take that because I'm going to have a problem if you fold my towels wrong. So, but those are things that you sit down and you talk about, you discuss, because I shouldn't be working as many hours as I work. And then I also have to come home and do all household things because I have a vulva and you have a penis. We're not going to do that.
Yeah, I definitely agree. I'm not the fan of the just because
Yeah.
and then whatever that just because is going to follow. I do think that another piece of this is realism. You know, have realistic expectations of what can occur when it comes to household job duties and tasks. You know, and not comparing. You know, we've talked about comparison and that stuff a little bit earlier. Not comparing your place of living to HGTV homes. Like, you know, it's not the average person whose home is just going to walk around looking pristine, like, you know, camera ready. Now, shout out to my mama. She is one of them people that fall in that very slim outlier category. Yeah. Whose home literally all the time looks like
it's ready.
It's camera ready. But the average Joe, their home is just not going to look like that. So I think you have to have some realistic expectations for what cleanly versus unkempt versus dirty. Versus nasty. You know, there's, like they say, there's levels to this. And I think if you have one person that has an idea, because this is something I struggle with, you know, this would be something like I want my home to be pristine all the time, but I have a spouse who does not live in that world. Yeah. So that is a battle that we constantly have because I want it to be this way. I know I don't have the energy to make it that way. But my brain tells me that this is what I want, which then breeds frustration because it doesn't look the way that I want it to look in my head, but it also is not a priority or something that's as important to my spouse.
Hello, social constructs.
Okay. So I think
Luckily,
then
my
realistic
husband's junk is all in the garage. And he has a whole closet, whole bedroom full of closet that he uses. So he don't usually bring his stuff to the areas that I can see.
Y'all, they some dressing jokers. I'd be like, y'all might need 2 more houses.
Yeah, because we've outgrown the house.
Oh, we've outgrown our house, but not because of my stuff. Now, see, I think the thing that balances me and mine is, now he's probably going to be so upset if he hears me say this on the show, but you know, he has collector tendencies.
Yes.
Is that
That's
better?
appropriate.
Yes.
He has collector tendencies, but I'm very much a minimalist. So I think I keep him from blossoming out of control, but he also pushes me to not get rid of stuff so quickly and so much. Because I'll throw some stuff away and end up 3 months from now and I needed it. Because I'm like, oh, I just don't want to, and I go on a
rampage.
Yes. So again, I think it's about having realistic expectations and stuff for who you're with and what you both can do.
Yeah, I agree with that. And I think sometimes, you know, when you need realistic expectations, you may need to go see a therapist. So we're going to take another break and we're going to tune into the Balance Beacon ad. And then following that will be the She.
it's so much going on in the world right now, and we could all use some extra support. At Balance Beacon, we offer counseling services for individuals, couples, families, and groups. If you're in Texas, give us a call at 214-396-6503 or visit our website at www.balancebeacon.com for more information.
Ladies, are you looking for a new way to get your body right and your body tight? Well, let me give you the scoop on She. She Dance Studios is a women's only sensual fitness program geared towards unleashing that inner goddess. We're currently offering classes on Tuesdays and Thursdays at 8 p.m. inside Active Family Wellness located at 4120 North Collins Street, Suite 200, Arlington, Texas 76005. For more information, DM us on Instagram or Facebook at She Dance Studios.
Welcome back, interns. I hope you all like the ad. Okay, so the thing about emotional intelligence is that you have to just make sure that you give space for each other, and space means patience. Space means you are listening to one another. You're hearing the other person, not just listening to respond, but you're listening to each other and trying to understand what each other is saying.
Yeah. And let that ego go.
Oh God. And pride.
Yeah. Because there's nothing wrong with having an ego, because that is a protective tool. But in the midst of trying to figure things out, we're not trying to preserve ourselves. We're trying to get to like the bottom of what the problem is.
Yeah. I think one of the things that I use with couples, kind of when you're saying like having patience and, checking our egos and stuff, is I really love the clarification, correction, verification. Clarify that you understand what your partner is saying. Give them your interpretation. And this really is a Psych 101.
Yeah.
Like, so what I hear you saying is, am I incorrect in, hearing that? So you give your interpretation of what your partner is saying and then allow them to correct it. So they will say either, yes, that's exactly what I meant, or no, well, that part is right and this part's wrong. Or no, what I really meant was insert. And then you verify that, yes, okay, I understand what you're saying now. And then you do that same process until you get to the yes. Yeah. So that you know that you are understanding what your partner said in the way they meant it to be received.
And that way both of you can walk away from the conversation feeling like there was some resolve.
Now, for all you interns talking about that's too much work, that's too much whatever, but this is the thing, you chose this person, so why would you not want to go hard in the paint for them? Make that make sense.
I agree.
And no relationship is going to be easy, and no conversation, unless you're talking about something super mundane,
I was just getting ready to say what you're thinking.
is quick.
Yes.
I mean, just something as simple as what do you want to eat for dinner can turn into an hour and a half long conversation.
Yes.
And that's about as simple as you're going to get.
Yes. And sometimes so as Dr. Strickland was saying, those types of conversations you may not be able to resolve in one sitting. But the thing about that is you communicate that. You can say, okay, you know what? Maybe we need to table this topic for right now, and let's just go eat some dinner and maybe come back to it tomorrow. Or later
come
on.
Back.
Right.
Because whose timeline are you on?
Y'all married maybe till death do you part.
And at the end of the day, y'all making the choices. Like us always putting ourselves on this stopwatch of life. Like we gonna have to stop doing that, because it's really causing a lot of problems in a lot of ways, and it's not really healthy for us to get to those higher selves. Get to self-actualization and all those things that we've talked about in past sessions.
I agree.
Yeah. Absolutely. So of course it always boils down to communication. So then, since we kind of know how you start addressing it, how in the world do you even know that you have this going on to begin with?
Mm-hmm. That's a good question. I talked to my husband about this topic Sunday when we were riding bikes. And
y'all better ride bikes together. They so cute, y'all.
Thank you. So, and he said that he wouldn't have a problem with me making more money than him, but that would push him to drive him into doing other things in his purpose.
He gonna level up.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. It's gonna make him do more things to level up. Exactly. And so I told him, I said, but how would you even know that I make more money? Because I wouldn't even know, because I'm not gonna be paying attention to that. And now, granted, at some point I assume we'll file taxes together and we would know then, but right now we don't. And so I was like, well, I wouldn't even know. And it's not like I'm not that type of person that would throw it in his face that I make more money than you or whatever, because I wouldn't even be paying attention to it, because we put it all in one pot. You know how y'all know how we save our money, so we put it all in one pot, you know. And so it was just like, to me, you fix that by just being a partner. Like, I don't understand why when people get married they not partners. Like,
because
I
it's
don't
selfish.
understand it.
That's the simple answer, is because they're selfish. You don't have to be malicious all the time. It's just like, I'm only focused on me. And in reality, being in a couple is a very sacrificial type of thing. And I don't mean like you out here being a martyr. Sacrifice and martyrdom are two different things. And you have to give up something being in a relationship. It may be time, it may be an ideal, it may be your body sometimes. But you're giving up something. But the reality is, it doesn't always feel like a sacrifice, because your partner's also giving up something. Y'all are meeting each other at the same level, even if you're giving each other different things. You know what I'm saying? As far as the fixing it, I think when you start to feel drained a little bit, I think that's a good idea to check in with yourself and be like, well, you know, why am I feeling drained? Am I feeling like I'm giving too much? Or do I feel like I'm giving good, but I'm not getting enough in return? Because you still may have great boundaries, but your partner is just over here slacking and lacking.
And then sometimes that's not on purpose. Sometimes you have to, you know, but that's why you have to communicate, because sometimes, you know, you and your partners are, you know, living life, y'all working and doing things, and sometimes they can, as my father says, you have to do a report card check with your spouse to see how you've been doing, and that way you can figure out if something is missing.
Like, prime example, we're gonna be polyamorous right now, okay, y'all? I know y'all both my partners, okay? So if I am having a problem, I'm gonna come and say to them, hey, y'all, I feel neglected. Y'all been doing a lot of date nights without me. I really need to be included in more things because I feel left out. Y'all see how easy that was? It ain't gonna feel easy, but it was easy.
Well, and I think the way it becomes easy is, one, you understand what your stance is, you know what your opinion is, you know what your beliefs and your values and stuff are, so that you there you go, plain and simple. And that way, when you communicate it to your partners, friends, whoever, then you don't have to come from a malicious, angry, rude, belittling, condescending tone. It's like, I'm being real sincere. Like, y'all been going on a lot of dates without me, you know? And so it's not coming out. I think people get the misunderstanding of having difficult conversations. Difficult conversations are meant to communicate, not meant for people to walk away angry.
And if you are in relationship with people that you chose and you getting upset because they are providing constructive criticism, then you don't need to be in relationship with people. You need to work on yourself.
Agreed.
It doesn't have to feel good, because I don't know anybody that's like, yes, tell me I did something wrong. It's beautiful. Like, I don't know anybody that's like that. But that also comes in with, you know, you may need to work on that non-attachment that we've discussed in a past session, because you are attaching too much personal ownership to what is being said. This person is discussing their emotions, their feelings, their thoughts about behaviors. So you can't own what they feeling.
And I think it all kind of, at the end of the day, it boils down to, are all parties in whatever type of relationship you have creating the space for safety and security?
You better hold
you
space.
know,
For
how
me.
are you how are you creating that for your partner, for your friend, for your sibling, for your parent, whatnot? Like you have to create that space for them. They can't create that space for themselves with you.
No,
So,
just a little sidebar. I'm not gonna give too much of this information to y'all because this is our private friendships. But you know, recently we had to do something like that for each other. We had to sit down and just have a talk and, you know, hold space for each other because we love each other, but sometimes we're doing too much of the business and not doing enough of the loving and interacting with each other. So we had to sit down and be like, hey, we're going to have to hold space for each other better than what we've been doing. And we all can own up to that. You know what I mean? And so if you're not having talks like that about the mechanics of your relationship, you're not really going to have a good relationship.
Yeah,
that's true.
So we have to fix it, work on being a partner, working as a team, check your ego, communicate, and hold space for each other.
There you go.
Yep.
I don't know if it can go any better than that. Y'all know we like to end with a quote.
We got some. So this quote comes from Steve Maraboli, and it reads, I can't control your behavior, nor do I want that burden, but I will not apologize for refusing to be disrespected, to be lied to, or to be mistreated. I have standards. Step up or step out.
Must be this volume control.
So, okay, interns, process your notes. Be sure to catch us next session and find us on all major platforms at The Recycled Podcast.
If you're a new intern, be sure to like, comment, subscribe, and share.
Thanks for listening. And remember, we are shifting and reshaping our psyche through healing conversations and connections, one discussion at a time.